I'll talk about the environmental disruption. I mean, pine beetle is a function of warming in the north. If we had 15 continuous days of -30, well, your airport would shut down, but it would kill the pine beetle, and it's just not going to happen. So the pine beetle is moving further and further east at a faster rate than anybody thought it would because of climate change. We have a water issue in Canada, which is non-trivial. We have a substantial issue around water, and we have big issues around the impact of climate change on a number of industries, including agriculture. So this is a very real disruption. And the other disruption I'd like to draw your attention to is how people now use technology to relate to each other. I was in Pincher Creek, which is not exactly a metropolitan hub of Canada. It's a little prairie community. And I said to this young kid of 7, how many friends do you have? He said, 147. I said, that's impressive for a 7-year-old in Pincher Creek. There aren't 147 7-year-olds in Pincher Creek. He says, no, only 6 of them are local, and they're useless. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, I know them, and they're just stupid. Well, who are these 141 other people? Facebook. Well, where are they from? Oh, 20 countries. So think about this for a moment. Here's a 7-year-old with 141 Facebook friends in 20 countries. How many of you have that? And then I said, what do you do with these people? They help me with my homework. The Germans are very good at maths, he said. French, I don't know what they're good for. I thought this guy's going to be really bright. He's going to be an ambassador or something. He's already got the language down. You know, French, what are they good for? Amazing. I do some work for Safeway Canada, which is Alberta's largest private sector employer. And Chuck, who's the chief executive, Chuck, isn't that great? Chuck was telling me that he was in a store and there were 2 young women next to each other on adjacent tills texting each other, right? They're actually stood this far. And one is saying, how's your day going? And the other one writes back, not very good, it's boring here, nobody to talk to. But you get on the train in London, on the tube, everybody's wired in, everybody's digitally connected to something, and here's what you can do to get arrested. Say, hi, how are you? People get really worried that you must be some kind of nutter. Well, I'm from Yorkshire, so it's possible. So I think we're at a very kind of strange point in time where schools, K-12 schools and colleges and universities, are preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist. The top 10 companies in the world didn't exist 20 years ago. Google didn't exist 20 years ago. So it's a very disruptive time. So we're kind of placing bets on the future all the time in the work that you do. And this is from the OECD. And the 2010 study is due out on the 5th of December. And this is a map of the demand for skills over time. And all you need to see is that some core skills, the routine manual skills, all those trade skills that, plumbing skills, demand over time gone down for routine skills. The demand is going through the roof for non-routine cognitive and non-routine interpersonal skills. So the expectations of those of us who are employers it has been changing continuously over time. So one of the questions you should ask is this reflected in our strategic thinking about the nature of learning as a process for everybody? So my plumber, Pierre, who was trained in Quebec, who's terrific, is a terrific problem solver. He hates routine plumbing. So everything gets very complicated pretty quickly. And I've never seen a kind of piping system so elaborate. I mean, we could build a pipe organ in our basement, I think. But we've had it's an old house, and he's done some fantastic problem solving on how to fix this. But the other 3 plumbers we had in before him had no idea what to do. And it's an example of, even in an area of trade, you have to think differently. You have a great catering school. experience good food here every time I come. It's the reason I agree quickly to come. But look at that industry, how that's changed just in the last 10, 15 years. One of the people I do occasionally have a drink with is Gordon Ramsay, who's a bit strange. But he will talk to you about the changes he's seen in this industry over the last 20 years, and it's dramatic in terms of people's expectations about food and the nature of the food prep business and the high end of the restaurant trade. So lots of changes here. So some quick observations about the future. Productivity and competitiveness are now not options, they're imperatives. If we don't get better at this, we won't have work. It's not somebody else's problem, it's all of our problem. So one of the issues you should be looking at here in terms of your own strategic thinking is this as productive as we can be as a college? Are we demonstrating to our students how to think about productivity and competitiveness in every single sector? You're going to have to manage with less money. Our Minister of Advanced Education hasn't announced this yet, but everybody knows because it's a government and it leaks like a sieve. The provincial budgets for education, the optimistic numbers for colleges and universities in Alberta for the next 3 years are 0, 0, and 0. That's the optimistic scenario. So we have a finance person in the room, which means that we're talking about -5, -5, -5. Just on pay, benefits, and other things that are contractually negotiated into collective agreement. So that's the optimistic scenario in Alberta, which doesn't have any it doesn't have deficits, it has cash at the moment. And the other big kind of area for innovation in terms of the first two things is thinking different about the use of time. And I'll come back to that later. Here's what I think you need to be able to say as a college about the work that you do. We are very local. I mean, one of the powers of a community college is the first word in its title, community college. So we're local, but we think globally. There's not a single thing you're teaching. Take nursing. There's not a single thing that you're doing in health sciences or in any of the fields represented in this room where you don't have to pay attention to what's going on elsewhere in the world. Medicine is moving so fast in terms of genomics and personalized medicine, technology for treatments, new medical devices that are happening around the world, that if you keep the eye off that ball and just focus on what's going on locally, you're going to not do a service for your people. So we're local. You're going to have to learn how to partner with all sorts of people, both your colleagues in other institutions, and I was pleased to see that there's some progress on that, but you're going to have to partner with all sorts of strange bedfellows. But you don't partner with the private colleges, you should. You don't partner with other people that you should partner with in the future. Somebody needs to partner with the airport to help them think differently about things like snow. You're going to have to be technological savvy because your customers will be. The smartphone, the iPad, are very simple technologies, but we haven't seen anything yet. We're at the early stages of this digital revolution that's taking place. I remind people that when I launched the world's first online MBA program in 1993, which is not that long ago, the internet was barely in existence. And it really came into maturity in about 1998. That's nothing in terms of time. So you're going to see some major developments. I'm going to talk about some of those in a moment. You're going to have to say to government and your stakeholders that not only are we doing the right kind of learning, but we're effective and efficient in the way we do it. And you're going to have to say to your customers, we're an affordable choice for effective, high-quality learning. Faster, better, cheaper. And you say, oh, this is the typical politician's speech. No, I'm not a politician. I'm an observer saying, you don't have much choice. They're all connected. Productivity and competitiveness creates wealth. Since we're not creating wealth, then you're going to have less money. It's very simple. And I think we might want to think differently about the nature of learning as a process as well, to reflect this change that we're in the middle of. So I'm going to talk very briefly about some emerging technologies that help you think differently about the nature of learning. And when I think of technology, most people think computer. I don't. I think of devices. So in my kit that I'm traveling with right now, I have a computer, which was running this show. I have an iPad. I have a cell phone. I have a GPS system. I have a live smart pen, which enables me to record 8 hours of a conversation and take notes at the same time. So, you know, I'm sitting with the Premier of Ontario, for example, young Dalton, as I like to think of him. And so, now then, young Dalton, tell me about what you're thinking. And he tells me what he's, and I've got it all on, you know, I've recorded this. So that's how I make most of my money, blackmail. But so you write this stuff up and you send it to Dalton, and Dalton says, that's not what I was thinking. I said, actually it is. If you press on any part of this, you can hear yourself talking back. And he said, how do you do that? $200 that pen with digital paper. We need to think about devices, not just computers. And here's the kind of typical device kit that we're talking about. I mean, think about the next generation iPad, not this one, but the one after that. Every single textbook that you need for your nursing degree could be right there. The next generation will have camera in there. All computers are coming with cameras embedded in the, right? So we can video conference to any student anytime, anywhere using Skype. All of these come with the new tablets, particularly the Samsung tablet and the RIM tablet, come with an ability to do simulation in 3 dimensions. So 3-dimensional tablets are close. I was at a demonstration of a new video conference system which enables 3D images to be projected into the room so that we can have a hologram of somebody in the room. So actually you don't need to show up to work. I mean, you know, just beam yourself in. Beam me up, Scotty, is pretty close. Good idea to get dressed before you do this. And you know, think of the digital camera. I mean, who last took a film to be processed? You know, people do occasionally. So here's a clue. If you go home tonight and your video recorder is flashing 12, ask yourself 2 questions. One is, where's the nearest 7-year-old? Because they'll fix it. And the second question is, why the hell do I still have a DVD player? I have a video recorder when everybody else has DVD and Blu-ray, and I've still got this machine. So, devices. They're getting smaller, smarter, cheaper. They're increasingly disruptive. I think digital textbooks is a disruptive technology because you can now embed all sorts of things within them. You can actually have simulations running inside that. So when you say, this is how we do this procedure in nursing, you could actually have a video demonstrating that procedure right there in the textbook. The textbook companies have woken up to the notion that we all like most of the textbook, but not all of it. So they're permitting you to customize it by adding your own material. All sorts of stuff is happening. So this is getting really disruptive now. And the smart textbooks are available to you for the duration of the course, and then they disappear unless you pay an additional fee. So you're not carrying big backpacks, you're just carrying this little device. Think apps. There are currently, for the iPad, there are 247,000 apps available. At the conference we were at, one of your colleagues told us about the most stupid app, which is called IP. This is when you're in the cinema and you've had this big bucket full of pop and you're desperate to go to the washroom, but the film's quite good. So you tune up this app called IP, tell it what film you're watching and what time it started, and it tells you when you should go to the washroom for the boring bits of the film. Differentiated by gender, right? So if you're a man, you can go any time in the next 15 minutes, just a big love scene. You know. If you're a woman, you really want to see this. You know. So